Hi everybody, this is Matthew Kenslow, and in this video I want to explain how I decided to become a middle school math and science teacher as a career goal. Well, it started 4 years ago around this time. I'm filming this on August 15th, 2020, and it was circa August 2016 when I came with the conclusive decision, and it's all because of this book here, General Chemistry 10th edition. And I've had this book because I was self-teaching myself out of here because I was taking Chemistry 180 in the fall 2016 semester. So starting on July 23rd that year I began to go to chapter 1 and just read and study and go back and make sure that I memorized almost everything. So I'm one of those, and it's not just chemistry, but I want to pre-read all my textbooks, but I don't always do that, and when I do pre-read, I don't pre-read like the entire book, unfortunately, beforehand, but I just want to maximize my preparedness because reading is a struggle, so it does take time for me to read, so that's why I was pre-reading, and I got to, basic, metric, mathematics section like density and volume and all that, and what I do with any form of textbooks is, in my mind, I pretend that I teach it. How would I teach this? Because that's my passion to teach. So this goes all the way back to elementary school. I would literally teach or pretend to teach at home, in the garage, in my room, or wherever, and I would just pretend to be the teacher, starting at least second grade at least. So as time went on, I never, dropped that passion, but I wanted to get into other things, from baseball to firefighter. I was really considering to be a firefighter, and then ultimately in middle school I wanted to be the president of the United States, and I was serious. I got a lot of votes in middle school, and in high school I thought maybe finances and other things, maybe a doctor, a lawyer, and the basic go-to careers, I guess. And then one day in junior year, a person from the mentoring program came to my comp lit classroom to talk about the mentoring program, and this is the actual packet that they gave me. Now, unfortunately, I only attended maybe 1 or 2 meetings thereafter. I didn't really take advantage as much as I'd like to, but there's probably another sheet of paper next to this that had, all the available career pathways to choose from, because I guess they had a mentor for. And we all took, like a moment to look through and see what our career pathway is. And I raised my hand, and the person comes to me and I said, "Where's President of the United States on here?" And unfortunately there wasn't one, so I took a glance down, and I kid you not, I saw teaching, and all of a sudden, just like that, my passions of teaching came back again, all of a sudden. And so I decided teaching as my career pathway. In fact, as you see right there, I chose teaching, and I was serious about it. Now, I'm not sure if this is the packet that I got on the day in September 2011 in comp lit class, or if this is what was given when I attended the first meeting, but basically I was heart set on it, and I told everybody, my teachers, including my former teachers, probably at Ensign Intermediate School, but for sure Newport Heights Elementary School. I will tell you this, I talked to my art history teacher. Now, keep in mind, when the mentoring program, when I first heard about it, I was in 11th grade. My 9th grade art history teacher was walking by one day, and I told him about, I repeated to him what I was repeating to everybody, how much I just I can't explain these feelings. It's just, just fun feelings that just hit me to become a teacher and help mentor and let people, the young people, succeed, let young children succeed and such. I was saying something to that effect, and he looked at me in the eye and he said, "Do you know what that's called?" And I said, "No," and he smiled very wide and he said, "That's passion." And that instant I knew that I was passionate and sort of felt destined to become a teacher. I could be sure that I mentioned it in my book about the mentoring program, and how that really helped gear me toward teaching. So all 2011 to 2012 academic year I was set to become a teacher, but I thought I was going to do elementary school, like 1st or 2nd grade and such, for long story short. Well, I'll tell you, it's because I didn't understand science a lot back then. In fact, I always hated most of science. I just couldn't get it. I wanted to self-teach myself, but I was thinking fourth grade is when science projects started. And I really didn't like the science projects in my latter 3 years of elementary school. And I thought, well, if I'm a teacher for fourth, fifth, or sixth grade, then I will have to, know exactly everything that you have to do. And I wanted to teach basic science, like very fundamental science and such, like at a first, second, or third grade level. Little did I know that I would major in biochemistry and that I earned an Associate's of Science degree in chemistry in 2019 from OCC. And I talk about that in my book. I mean, like, little did I know that I would grow to love science and such. But the thing with elementary school, I always had a pro and con list. The pro is that I would get to teach a wide variety of subjects like history, social studies, English and mathematics and such. The only downside, the con, is that I only have to teach at their level, or I could only teach at their level. I couldn't teach the funner stuff, the more advanced stuff. And then the summer 2012 hit me, and because of Royal Rangers, I had to get certified as an emergency medical I had to get first aid CPR certified to get the Gold Medal of Achievement, which is equivalent to the Eagle Scout Award. And in order to have it, I needed to take a basic CPR class. Well, what I took was emergency medical responder, and I mentioned that in my book, cover to cover. I have a link up here if you're interested afterward about where that led me. But that made me want to get into the medical field, and I had the same amount of passions to get into the medical field as I did for the teaching field. Can I do more than one passion? I found out later I could do two careers, but which one first? So all of these years, as I was taking core curriculum at Orange Coast College, I still had an undeclared major, and I was still choosing until 2016 happened. Now in the spring, I was at Royal Rangers one day, and I've been teaching a lot at Royal Rangers, ropecraft, astronomy, and such. And I mentioned in my book that there was one night at Royal Rangers, and one of the fifth graders told me that I inspired him in his school project to take astronomy, or to choose astronomy as a theme. And that really, that moment right there is like, it's priceless. Like you can't explain it. So I digress, but that moment really stuck out. He looked at me in the eye with a smile and said, "You inspired me." And he's a fifth grader at the time, and that moment sort of was almost a life changer. So either consequently or right around that time in early 2016, I decided maybe I'll go into fifth grade. I mean, I'm starting to understand science because I'm self-teaching myself science. I'm starting to like it and understand it, so maybe I'll become a fifth grade teacher. And I was set on that. In the summer or late spring 2016, I declared biochemistry as my major, and I was set to become a physician assistant first, and then come back at teaching credentials to teach elementary school. And so that was the plan for the next 2 years. But there was one amendment in August, or late July, early August, I could be sure it was August around this time, 4 years ago. And I was self-teaching myself. I mean, I'd stay up, day and night. I'd stay up all night long just self-teaching myself from that chemistry book, and, going over it and pretending to teach it, and going outside just to get some fresh air, look at the constellations, because, in 2015 I got interested in the constellations and everything. Well, anyway, that's a long story. And so I came back, and all of a sudden, it's like it hit me, and I want to be a middle school science teacher. And I had a lot of debate about that because, it's, when you're teaching middle school or above, it's like you have to choose one subject. And it's like I want to, teach a variety of subjects. That's why I chose elementary school at first. But then I, took a look at my former middle school website, Ensign Intermediate School, and I looked at the staff, and there was a staff that taught, I believe she taught science and social studies. And I'm like, you could do that? So that helped solidify, that I wanted to go for it. And I may not be able to teach like a full class of, US history, for example, but maybe I could integrate what I know about, the presidents and such. You have to read my book to know what I could do with the presidents, or browse on YouTube, I guess. But at least I could, help maybe in language arts too, essay writing, and such. Maybe other students. I could at least help mentor, tutor other people while focusing mainly on teaching things like algebra and science, like chemistry, astronomy, and all the other fun stuff to teach. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I know what classroom I want to try and get. Now, if I do teach at Ensign Intermediate, I have no idea if this is going to be possible, depending. I will take what I get, what classroom they give me, but there's a big, huge science class toward the street area, Irvine Avenue, and there's a big science building right over there, a huge classroom. Long story short, and I thought that is the location that I want, or the classroom that I want to teach science at. And so I was equally as passionate as I was back in 2011 wanting to get into elementary school teaching. So that's pretty much my journey. I guess it just happened while self-teaching myself chemistry for my upcoming semester, and wrestling which grade to teach and the pros and the cons. And I could always help tutor everybody, including high school level. Now the only con with teaching middle school is that I wouldn't teach the fun stuff like calculus. I mean, what are the chances? Even trigonometry and such. I mean, I love to try and teach those courses, but if I'm going to be bound at middle school, maybe once in 100 blue moons. I said something like that in my book, actually, like 1 in 10 blue moons. Maybe there's a small classroom ready to take trigonometry. I mean, one of my commanders at Royal Rangers was taking trigonometry in the middle of elementary school. I mentioned that in my book as well. And after a long time thinking about this and praying about this and talking to others about this, I made up my mind that I want to teach middle school, math and science. And so as time went on in 2018, while I was working at the fair, actually it was probably before that when it started to get in my mind, I allowed my teaching passion to go to 51% and my medical passion to go to 49%. And I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think I consider that as a mistake, but boom, like my teaching passion skyrocketed, my medical passion plummeted, and right like at that moment I realized, I should have, gone along with this entire time. I mean, right now in 2020, I'm not sure if I'll ever get into the medical field, but at least I know that I'm set right now, and also going to Vanguard University to ultimately become a middle school math and science teacher, and that's the plans for the time being, and that's how it happened. And I mentioned deciding to become a middle school math and science teacher in my book here, in fact giving a specific school as well. It's in College Life on page 148, and I said, since 11th grade, I plan to become an elementary school teacher more than ever, but by August 2016, 4 years ago, after intense and deliberating, I decided that I will probably pursue teaching at a middle school such as Ensign Intermediate, or wherever the Lord leads me. I was encouraged by others to consider teaching high school and college, but that is not where my heart currently lies. My heart is toward teaching and mentoring younger students to help them achieve their goals, i.e. I see potential in them, when a lot of people don't, and find success in their life. For high schoolers and beyond, I am most definitely willing to help out, but as a teaching profession, I prefer to teach at a middle school. And also in the About the Author section at the very end, I said, or actually it says, he graduated Orange Coast College with an Associate's of Science degree in Chemistry and is pursuing Vanguard University of Southern California. He currently aspires to be a middle school math and science teacher. So there were a lot of people who kind of look at me and think like, middle school, why do I want to teach that age group with those dispositions and demeanors and all that? And it's just that I see potential in them. One of my former teachers from elementary school, when I told him about being a middle school teacher, kind of it cautioned me, well, like a be prepared type thing, because they're nice kids in heart, but still, well, I understand that. And I was also in Brea one day in Albertsons, and I was self-teaching myself like I always do. I believe I was self-teaching myself physics at this point. And there's like a couple, an older couple, and the wife asked me, so what do I want to do, because she was wondering what I'm doing with all the studying. And I said, I want to be a middle school math and science teacher. The first thing she said was, God bless you, because we need, because that's a difficult age group, and we need people like you who are so willing to serve that age group. And you know, that's my heart, because I see potential in them. And so I mention Ensign Intermediate in my book by name a lot of times, in fact 14 times to be exact, and as well as the district a number of times as well, Newport Mesa Unified School District. So it's been a wonderful 14 years from preschool to 12th grade that I had at NMUSD. I'm very happy for, you know, all that they've done and the resources that I got to take out of it, such as RSP and speech therapy and a lot of things that they've done because of people like me who have autism. I wasn't the only one, and I'm just thankful for them. As for their EdTech department, it's still an uphill battle, as they're probably, you know, because, you know, I've said in a lot of previous videos that it's probably discrimination at this point, because they're ignoring me, and now even I've heard that the HR department too is ignoring me. I emailed one of the district staffers who work at the district, and she read my email twice and didn't respond. So it's a battle. And again, just in case you haven't watched my previous videos, I'm really fighting this in a loving Christian way, because there's a deep close family member of mine who, like, when she found out about what the EdTech did against me, she just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I'm like, that was one of the most saddest things I've ever heard in my life. It really, you know, gives me a different outlook in life. It's almost like I don't know, I just don't know, but it really is heartbreaking to find out that she'd been holding that in, and I've been trying to hold it in to an extent, and I just had to make that YouTube video. So if you want more detail, just watch this YouTube video. And you know, they just ignore it. They just don't reply back to me, even though they know about it. I've seen my video on Twitter from an anti-bullying handle, and after that the EdTech just, you know, literally blacked out. So I don't know. And the thing that's heartbreaking about NMUSD is, I mean, I still love it. I mean, great teachers, great staff, great, you know, everybody, and the curricula and everything. I mean, I'm not, you know, feeling ashamed that I mentioned them whatsoever. I mean, don't get that idea. But I did mention them a lot, along with, you know, all my schools that I've been to and that I've come across that I haven't attended, but I've been into, like CDM, for example. But I mentioned College Park, Palo Reno, Newport Heights, Ensign Intermediate, Newport Harbor, and such. And, you know, I do plan to be going there and juggling and speaking for each of, like, every NMUSD school, as well as the Capistrano district, but that's a long story. I already have YouTube videos explaining that. NMUSD, I said in my book, is probably my future employer. I hope to work as a math and science teacher at Ensign Intermediate School. If that changes, I am totally willing. Whatever the Lord says, I'll go. And I just pray for discernment to know and to be able to recognize his voice, so I know for sure that I'm at the place that God has called me for such a time as this. And, you know, I mean, so far I've been at Royal Rangers, and I've interned, and prior to that I volunteered for the youth at Lighthouse Community, just nonstop. And I love doing what I do for children from K through 12, because I mean, they're learning, they're growing, and they're gaining self-confidence and self-esteem. So that's part of why I do what I do, is because I'm one of many mentors, one of many people out there that's really helping and seeing these people grow and grow to the adults that they're called to be. And so that's just a rewarding sense inside. And that's likewise why I want to teach is to help grow the minds of my future students, all hundreds and thousands of them probably, to make hard concepts easy, but at the same time always encourage them that they have a passion. Just don't give up on your dreams, your passions, your goals. You have a purpose, you have a reason to live. And I could say more, but something inside is stopping me from saying more beyond that. But anyway, that's my video, and I really hope that you enjoy. I of course will plan to keep you updated. As of now, I should be a full-fledged teacher by fall 2022. That's really on the subject to change, maybe 1 year or so, but I of course will keep you updated. I plan to have credentials by spring 2021. That's according to the plan I'm currently at with Vanguard, so we'll see how it goes, and I believe one day I'll be a full-fledged teacher at a middle school teaching math and science.